Here come the drums. Welcome to the Mark Peterson Show, the show where we combine news, views, and parapolitics from a Blackish point of view. Guys, in today's episode, we're going to entitle it, "The Government is Outsourcing the Constitution." I know that sounds weird. When we think about outsourcing, we think about businesses outsourcing some part of their operation to a third party that can do it cheaper or better. But in the case of the government, they're outsourcing enforcement of the Constitution to corporations in order to allow them to suppress many of the freedoms that they're guaranteed to protect. I know you're thinking, Mark, that's crazy. But let's look at the facts. The government found out that there's a great way to avoid us by turning over their most sensitive information and policies to corporate America. That started in the 40s. When Americans wanted to know more about government dealings, government secrets, government lies, they started issuing FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests, demanding that the government turn over any information in their possession about the secrets that they were keeping. And that ranged from anything from government cover-ups, military cover-ups, and even something as out there as UFOs. And so to protect itself and to protect those secrets, they came up with a great idea. Give those secrets to corporate America and allow those corporate America and constituents to hide behind legal barriers that would prevent citizens from demanding that those secrets be turned over to the public. Because once corporations were given the appropriate rights, we could not demand of them, a private entity, to do what a public entity that was charged with protecting the public good to do, which was hand over the secrets. Once that tripwire was put into effect, the government said, great, we got a framework for managing our people and avoiding the constitutional requirements to protect our freedom of speech, our freedom to bear arms, and any other freedoms they deemed that would get in the way of the push for total control, total spectrum control of the people. Okay, you're starting to believe me now? Well, I'm here to tell you that they're upping the ante. The government is going to tell you that they're going to protect your freedom of speech. But what if you have nowhere to even speak? Because all the means for you to express your freedom of speech are now controlled by private corporations. Facebook is a nation in and of itself. Over 2 billion people on the platform. They're pushing towards creating their own digital currency. And they have the means to effectively erase you if you violate their terms of service. Yeah. If you say something that they don't like, they can erase you from the platform and eliminate your voice and your ability to speak. And there's nothing that you can do about it because as a private corporation, they have the rights to change their terms of service every day and force you to comply or not be on their platform. And some would say, hey, Mark, you still can speak. But when a platform of that size and scale has the ability to influence 2 billion people, they have the ability to influence those people in a way where they can limit my speech even when I'm not on the platform. Yeah, absolutely. We saw the outcomes of that in the 2016 election, when what we saw on the platform influenced people's behavior off the platform. And that the legacy of that information created ideas and concepts in people's mind that still linger to today, even if those messages weren't true and were proven to not be true. So how far have they gone? Where we do know that recently Facebook has kicked off a number of people off the platform. Alex-Jones, Louis Farrakhan are prominent figures that we all know that have been removed because of what Facebook deems to be dangerous behavior or speech. They have also banned people who are what we call anti-vaxxers. So if you don't believe that your kids should be vaccinated, certainly in the dosage and the quantity that they occur or required by many states, you can't express that point of view on the Facebook platform. You certainly can't buy ads to promote it. So those or that form of speech, eliminated. The government has given them that power. And what do I mean? Government certainly has invested many of its public dollars into a private platform and then turned over the right to say who can speak and who can't speak to that platform. And they're pushing that out into many other sectors. Many of you don't know that if a big bank does not like the type of guns that a gun shop owner sells, they can pull the funding from that particular entity, thus impacting another component of the Constitution. Whether you believe in the right to bear arms or not, to some degree that's an overreach. The outsourcing of the enforcement of that amendment to a private entity where the public citizen has little to no recourse has now tipped the balance in favor of tyranny. And we are just sitting back and watching it happen little bit by little bit, day by day, as you watch person by person be removed from the platforms that your dollars help put in place, that your dollars help create. Without the internet, none of these knuckleheads would be billionaires. And yet now they control the right to tell you when you can speak and what you can speak about. And many of you don't think it's going to get worse, but I do. As platforms like these move forward, they're going to take on the same type of behavior that we see in China, where you have social credits that are given to people who comply with what the government wants you to do when you are cooperating and operating on social media platforms. So any type of interaction can be graded. How you speak of your government officials, how you speak of your neighbors, of government policies, all of those can get you higher ratings if you give them the thumbs up. If you give them the thumbs down, you start to get lower ratings, and those ratings determine whether or not you can get a loan, whether or not you can travel, what types of education you can receive. So suddenly, those private entities that control the social media aspect have a physical and offline, real world impact on your life. And that's what's coming here. And it's coming in the most dubious ways you can imagine. Many of you probably haven't read the fact that Facebook is pushing to integrate facial recognition into the platform and to notify you when they find photos of you that are posted even without your permission. Someone that a friend or not even a friend post a photo and you happen to be in it, Facebook's going to say, hey, there's a photo of you or a picture of you. Come in here and tag it and put it on your timeline. They say this is a fun new feature, to help you control your identity. It's not that. It is the first step towards crowd control. If I am grabbing all the photos, no matter who uploads them, and tagging the people in it, that's the best way for me to now send out a drone into a crowd and identify everyone that's at a protest. And use that data to inform law enforcement of ways of who you are, where you are, and start the roundup. Don't think it can happen? This sort of facial recognition was used in Russia, and individuals could sit on the side of the road and pull up people's names and phone numbers as they passed by. Don't think it can't be used for crowd control, crowd identification. And don't think that cannot be a dangerous technology when we already know that groups like Black Lives Matter are being monitored by three-letter agencies like the FBI. You call them freedom fighters, they call them terrorists, but once deemed a terrorist, they have powers that allow them to track and monitor and create files on you no matter where you are. And this sort of technology, combined with the ability to limit your speech, monitor your speech, creates a very dangerous precedent. But it goes even further. Apple is going to do the same thing. And as many of you probably already know, your phone is becoming the next part of the payment infrastructure. And if your phone becomes the way you unlock, your face becomes the way you unlock that device, how are you going to participate in the economy when players like Apple and Facebook team up and tell government entities who's good and who's bad? And when all of your digital currency is managed by these entities, you could be locked in or locked out in a moment's notice. This is why it is important that people understand the path that we are marching down right now. Wake up before you're locked up. Demand that the government get control of this situation and give the appropriate rights to the people. Balance the equation that if you're going to allow for profit-making entities to have this sort of overreach, that there be a balance of power for those citizens to control their own information, to decentralize that information, and to force these entities to pay you when they use your data. That's the world we have to fight for. But you may not even get this message because they will not magnify or multiply or amplify podcasts like this one that speak about the power that they are gathering and plan to use on you. Sorry I've been away so long off of this show, but I'm going to get back in the groove and try to do a show every other week, if not every week, 15 to 20 minutes long, hitting hard on issues like these because we have to stay informed. I appreciate you listening. And if you've listened to this podcast in the past, you realize I do have a tendency for the conspiracy and the parapolitics. And I many times will bend it back towards a blackish point of view. But in this case, it's all about all of us point of view. The government has outsourced our Constitution. And there's more steps coming. Wake up, guys. I appreciate you listening. This is the Mark Peterson Show, and I'm your host, Mark Anthony Peterson. Time for me to get out of here because I hear these drums. Peace.